Welcome back to another episode of the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori, one of the co-hosts here, one of the founders of New Mexico Alumni Media. Hey, we're happy to have you back. Hope everybody's had a good weekend. Hope everybody's week is off to a good start. Great show for you today. A lot to talk about before I get to the gang, as I always do, as I steal that from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, or the usual suspects. I want to thank our sponsors, Abrazo Homes, Hydro Bar, affordable solar, Turquoise Desert Tap Room. We want to hit on UNM basketball ticket prices going up. We'll talk about that. Eddie Nunez was on the opening drive with JJ Buck, Jeff Simieta. We'll hit on that. Danny Hurley tells the Lakers to go expletive themselves. And then as the world turns with the JJ Redick, I got two Laker fans on with me tonight. No Eric Malton. Jacob Neff.
Oh, I'm afraid he couldn't be here.
He couldn't be here. He is on vacation, and I didn't hit you guys with the hey-heys, but I'm going to do one.
Hey!
As always, I'm joined by a two-time offensive lineman for San Juan Mendoza and the St. Pius Sardins. He played basketball under Wally Salata and Damian Segura at St. Pius, and an MVP of a 35 and older men's Filipino league in Northern California. His name's Richard Thompson. Rick, how you doing?
I'm doing good, boys. Been gearing up. We got a big round of golf tomorrow with another dad from preschool. You know, first time going out with another group of men. I got to assert my dominance out there. So I was teeing it up today. It's about 80 some degrees. It was a little warm. But I also wanted to show you what I got in the mail. I ordered NCAA football for PSP. I will be on an airplane next week, and I still have my PSP. So I'm going to see how the Lobos looked in 2007. I think it looked pretty good. So I'm pretty pumped about that and ready to talk sports here with you guys.
Man, I'm slacking tonight, Richard. I didn't Tommy boy you.
Richard.
I had a guy actually in the comments say that, so thank you. Hey, I'm pumped about the PSP. That's very cool. How much did that cost you, and where did you buy from? Was it on eBay?
Poshmark, about $7. Steal.
That's a fine looking video game there. That's awesome. I can't wait. We're about a month away from college football, NCAA football 25 coming out. I can't wait to play as the Lobos. I wonder what their overall rating is going to be. Maybe 69. Bad joke there, but I can't see them being higher than a 70 in reality. As always, and happy to have him back. He's been a Lobo fan since 1970. He is the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs, not to be confused with the other Eddie Nunez. That is the athletic director at UNM. He's our Eddie Nunez, and I'm always happy to have him on the show with his takes. Mr. Ed Nunez, how you doing, Eddie? I mean, how you doing,
I'm doing good. Yeah, it's funny when there's one guy that came up to me at Frontier, and I'd seen him in a while. It's about 2 years ago. And he comes up and says, "Hey, congratulations on the job." And I'm like, "Oh, he thinks I'm the AD, man." It's like, no, I'm not. But it was kind of funny. Those somebody from Highland messaged me about a year ago. "Hey, I heard you're the AD at UNM." No, I'm not. But glad to be with you guys and talk some sports.
We're glad you're the real Ed Nunez and not Eddie Nunez.
Much respect to Eddie. Scott Galetti and I interviewed him on the sports desk 4 years ago or so, and great guy. I've met him and we've laughed about something. He gets that. I'm a less famous Ed Nunez, but people ask him, there's another Ed Nunez. So, but he's Eddie and I go by Ed. So much respect to him. I'm sorry I didn't listen to him this morning. I always like his takes and what he has to say about Lobo athletics. So I'm sure you've got some things you want to tell us, Ryan, about what you heard.
I didn't listen today. Rick did, and I'm the one who always listens to that show. I know JJ Buck. I've known him since my Daily Lobo days. I know Jeff Simieta very well. I listen to those guys, and then I try to listen to Jim Rome that's what I do. And it's funny when I talk to Eric, because he's like, "Hey man, you got to listen to this podcast. You got to listen to this. Do you listen to us to see how you are?" I don't, which is probably really stupid and shitty, but I don't. That's my daily routine. But if I get busy at work, then I can't listen to either of them. But I support the local radio there, and occasionally listen to 1017 was a Team Talk. And my guy Adam Deal, Voice of United. I'm still trying to get him on the show. I do try to remain. Hey, Ice is back with a brand new invention. Ice Baby, Reggie Bush on the cover. I'm happy he got back the Heisman Trophy. I think we all are. Still the greatest football game ever. So he's not in that game because it was after he graduated. So it's for the 2006 season. Okay. Chris Leak, Florida. Tim Tebow in that game. His freshman year. That's his freshman year. Ronnie Chavez, Sports Animal Afternoon Show is kind of weird. I plead the fifth. I've already said my 2 cents on that show. I forgot what I was going to say. Damn it. I'm not going to ask you guys about the finals. I'll get into that later. Ed Nunez. Again, UNM alumni, and I'm pretty critical about UNM. Eddie Nunez was very kind to my mother and my son at the fall game last year, the last fall game. And I've never mentioned that on here. And I've always appreciated that. I don't think he's watching, but he was very nice to my mom and Aiden, and invited Aiden onto the field. So I've appreciated that. Ned, I was telling you about that, I think, the other day. So I again, leaps and bounds dealing with Paul Krebs, which was like going to the dentist and getting your tooth worked on without Novocaine. But anyway, hey, today's top story, in the sports section of the Journal, after an 11-year price freeze, according to Jeff Grammer, got to cite the Journal there. Oh, where's my banner? Doing fantastic things on a live show. Here we go. And I just wanted to hit you guys with this. Well, we're moving on now. Prices are moving on up. That joke didn't land because I'm not a comedian. Some season ticket price points saw a price drop over the past decade. However, the UNM Lobos are implementing a ticket price increase in select premium pit seating areas for the upcoming men's basketball season. This is Tessa. Is it Mentes Minuta? I'm going to butcher Mentos. Please. Nobody knows my last name. This is her on the 5:00 newscast on KOB tonight. And I just am playing this because I absolutely loved her zinger.
Well, these temperatures apparently aren't the only things on the rise around here. An announcement from UNM may have you planning your nights at the pit a little sooner.
Those temperatures are on the rise. Okay. Once again, my comedy's not landing. And I'm going to go to you because football doesn't bring in any revenue or much revenue, allegedly. What are your thoughts on the ticket prices going up on certain seats?
You know what? I don't think I'm too surprised. I read that in the paper this morning, and there's part of my report this morning on 99.9 FM, where I'm the sports director. I get to do my little sports minute once a day. And I read that, and I thought, okay, they had a successful season. Coach Pitino said this at the press conference the other day. How are we going to keep this NIL thing going? And I didn't correlate the two, but then after thinking about it, I'm not surprised. It's it said that 11-year price freeze, that they hadn't done it, so they probably feel justified in doing it. They've got they want a Mountain West tournament. They've got a long way to go still to get to where the program, where Coach Pitino said last week, where he'd like to see the program. He doesn't want to see just a 1 year. He wants to be consistent in being good, like he mentioned San Diego State. So with that, with things. Everybody's mad about inflation and prices and things like that. I get it. That college basketball ticket prices aren't immune, unfortunately, for selective seats at the pit. They said, right? There's only certain seats at the pit that they're going to jack them up on. But those people that have to pay more money aren't going to be happy about it. But I promise you one thing: they're still going to pay. They will pay because Lobo basketball, again, right now is a hot ticket. Will remain a hot ticket. There's excitement around the program. We said this last June, Ryan, with the transfers they had, and we had a couple of the guys on. Is the excitement even more now that they won a Mountain West tournament? They did lose Toppin. There was a little bit of the air taken out of the program. Some people that around the program. I was a little disappointed in that. When we watched them practice last week, we saw some young talent out there, and there's excitement around the program again. So, yes, they're going to jack prices up. Yes, people will be upset about it. Yes, people will pay. So that's up. I don't think UNM is going to be the only ones doing it. There's going to be some other schools, I'm sure, following suit here.
Feel free to drop in on the comments, Twitter, X, Instagram. Here's one. Ronnie Chavez, who remembers when the mezzanine seats were $5? Kids seats are only $5. I think we're lucky to have a great venue, a coach who's on the rise, and prices not even close to say Rupp Arena or Cameron Indoor. I don't know what prices are like to get in Cameron Indoor. I don't know if I want to know. What is going up? Some ticket prices are going up between $25 and $47 per season ticket for the entire season, not per game. Some of them are more coveted seats closer to the court, including ones with cushioned seat back chairs on the east side of the court. Much like everything, at least it's not Ticketmaster, there also will be additional $1 fee tacked onto some premium seating areas. That's per transaction. And this is per the Albuquerque Journal and Jeff Grammer. It won't be tacked on the lower price tickets. And all season single game tickets will increase by 5% on game day to pre-sell more tickets. Dave Williams told Jeff Grammer, he is the deputy athletic director, that UNM is projecting the increase will generate, quote, more than $200,000 additional for the upcoming academic calendar year. Rick.
Yeah, I think this is
good thing or bad thing?
Great business by the Lobos. I mean, it's only going to be $25 to $47 more per season ticket. And the people buying the season tickets are the ones that are already willing to fork over that type of money, and our dedicated fans, right, are going to be there at most of the games. So they targeted this specific group, knowing that this price increase probably isn't going to affect these people, and they're able to get an extra $200,000 out of it. And the casual fans that come once or twice a season, they won't be affected much unless they wait till the day of the game, and then they'll have to pay a little bit more. So I think this is a great strategy by the athletic department to find a way to make some more money on probably some tickets that should have been bumped up. I mean, more recently than I would think 10 years ago. They said the last increase was when the coaching change from Neil occurred, I believe, when he became coach was the last time the tickets rose. So not surprising, and I think it's probably overdue, actually, in my opinion. And hopefully they just don't rise too much more, because I think if you start rising the price of bench seats too much, then you're going to get a little outcry. But I think for season ticket holders, this isn't too much to ask if the product is going to be what we've seen the last few seasons.
Ed, I don't know if you've remembered our conversation in regards to what people are willing to pay here, but I think is it $12 to park or $9 to park? I went to an Ice Toast game, and I think it was $9, and there's no cash. I don't think, if anybody's listening, they can correct me. I don't remember. But I made the comment, people here bitch and moan about paying $12 to park. But I don't know. I think there's just a select group of people. They're not going to, I don't think they're really going to care. Also, according to Jeff Grammer's report in the Albuquerque Journal, Lobo men's basketball comfortably met its budgeted $3.5 million in ticket revenue this past season. It's projected to hit $3.8 million for the upcoming season. More ticket revenue than all other sports in the department, including football combined. Of the arena's 14 price points for men's basketball, 6 will not see an increase. Lobo, let me emphasize not there more. Lobo Club donations required will be able to purchase most season tickets. Wait, let me say that again. Of the arena's 14 price points for, I don't want to come on here and read the article, but I have to on this line. Of the arena's 14 price points for the men's basketball games, 6 will not see any increase. Lobo Club donations required to be able to purchase most season tickets will not be increasing. So I guess that's a good thing. I think if you both, basketball does pay the bills. I think UNM is in such a unique place, and we may have talked about it in the past, that it's such a unique place with basketball because it's a mid-major, but I really can't, and I'm not knocking San Diego State, I'm not knocking UNLV, what Thomas and Mack is. But in the upper echelon of mid-majors where you have a $15,000 seat arena, and I don't think anybody's listening to us that was listening when we were talking about top into Texas Tech. Again, it's a great arena. I graduated twice in there. I think it's fabulous. But I can just hear people bitching. I'm not making a point, but going on. I can see people complaining about the price increase. Again, Rick, you made a valid point. If they start increasing the bench seats with, the no cheerbacks, I think there would be an outcry, but it's almost, I think some Lobo fans are catch-22, not as much with basketball as they are with football. If you want to win, you have to support, just stating the Captain Obvious. What's the guy on South Park? Captain Hindsight is a superhero. I think that to support it, you have to show up. I'm probably not making the total point there, but I hope there isn't, again, it's loud. The San Diego State environment was fantastic this year. Utah State was awesome. New Mexico State was awesome. Objectively. But I have heard people call into the opening drive and bitch and moan about paying for parking. I think for those that attend Lobo games, or if you haven't attended a Lobo game in a while, especially a football game, because you're maybe, at least with NMSU this past year, you added another 10, 15,000 people to that. It bottlenecks up there, and it really was such a pain to get in and out of, at least in, just with all the traffic there. But it's probably not so bad for basketball because you're dealing with 10 or 15,000 people less. But Rick or Ed, do you have any final thoughts? I don't think I even really made any sense there, but I've just, in my mind, when I saw this yesterday, I was like, man, people are going to complain. People are probably going to start complaining.
I've got one final thought on that, and that, like I said, I think it's a premium place to be if they're winning. If they're not winning, there's going to be the more crying or moaning, as you said. So they're winning right now. I think expectations are, you mentioned yourself, Ryan, Sweet 16 or bust. I don't know what Coach Pitino, his expectations are pretty high, I would think. So I think there'll be, initially when they hear about it, and who's ever affected by it will be, oh gosh, they'll complain and moan for a little while. But what's the alternative? Not to be there? They want to be at those games. They want to see the Lobos. So that, I think those kind of complaints or moaning will go away rather quickly. And I think initially they'll be upset, but after a while when they think about it, Lobo basketball tickets are a hot commodity right now. So I think it'll be just a temporary thing, and it'll blow over quickly.
And my final thought is just with Coach Pitino's basketball camp actually going on this week, where young campers are going in and the Lobos are providing instruction. It just makes me think about how the world is a little bit different now. Obviously, when we were growing up, all we really knew was the Lobos because we didn't have the internet. We had the paper, and we felt like the Lobos were the biggest thing. And now I don't know if kids grow up in that same thing with everything they're exposed to on their phones with the access to other teams and pro sports. I don't know if they really look up to the Lobos like we once did. And I think kids at the camp this week hopefully will, get some new fans, and their parents will then be paying money for these tickets years down the road. That's what I would like to see, is just more community stuff, and have the Lobos. They're already the main show in town, but let's just pump it more into it, because it's all we really got right now as Lobo fans.
Yeah, I agree with you, Rick. I mean, if you are a viewer that does listen to the show, and it's the same guys in the comments, and I'll get to those here in a bit. I mean, I don't get normally starstruck, Ed, but I think Royce Only, I've appreciated all the guys that we did on the Lobo Legend series, but I think Royce Only, I mean, I was like, damn, like this is this is awesome. I think Luke Longley would probably do it, but I mean, we hold him in high regard. So yeah, man, I'm out of it tonight. I'm slacking. I apologize, you guys. I want to move on to the next.
Quick shout out, Ryan, if I could.
Go right ahead.
Condolences to Rob Robbins, his son Liam passing away. So just wanted to mention that. Rob is a friend of mine. I really like him a lot. The former Farmington star, played here for New Mexico and played well. And so just came out on Facebook yesterday. So condolences to Rob Robbins and his family.
Yeah, a lot of that going on lately, and it's kind of a downer, but 'tis life between Reuben Douglas and Drew Gordon. Didn't get to listen to the interview, so I apologize. Rick, sounds like you may have listened to it, but Eddie Nunez, the athletic director, the other Ed, I steal this from The Simpsons, the not balder, fatter, older son, Eddie Nunez. That's a joke from The Simpsons. I'm sorry. The athletic director, Eddie Nunez. I do that with my child now. I'm the older, balder, fatter son. If you watch The Simpsons, you'll get that. All right, moving on. Eddie Nunez was on the opening drive with Jeff Symbieta and JJ Buck this morning on 610 on the Sports Animal 95.9 FM and 610 AM, the Sports Animal. Said that the number one priority was to improve the women's sports facilities. That's probably a big thing, especially with women's soccer and the success they've had, winning a couple Mountain West titles, getting to the NCAA tournament. I guess I'll get your guys' thoughts on that. I mean, you go there. I still think the Pit is probably the nicest thing. If you've been watching the college baseball tournament and the College World Series, I mean, just the amount, the SEC baseball stadiums look better than some minor league parks, and the atmosphere is insane. And I love that. But I'm sure that would be a priority. Do you guys have any comments on that and insights?
My only thought is the only real money maker in the athletic department outside of men's and women's basketball and football is volleyball. And I have not been back to Johnson Gym in some time since they renovated there. And I believe that's where they play volleyball. So, I mean, it seems like volleyball should have a nice facility. They've had good teams historically over the years. Going back to Jeannie Fairchild, our old classmate, they've had some success. And softball, it seems like that was one Eddie mentioned, but other improvements that he was just talking about during the interview was improving the video boards at both the Pit and at University Football Stadium. And it seems to me that the ones at the Pit are maybe, Ryan, you can correct me, 15 to 20 years old, and I don't think they're halfway bad, but they could be made larger. And I don't know if there's space when I think about it logistically, but maybe newer technology, better replays of that sort. And I definitely think the one in University Stadium could be replaced. When the sun hits that thing, you can't even see it. So there is definitely room for improvement in the technology and that part. But I guess I'll just expand on one other piece of the interview is, he wants to just increase that fan experience. And I think, like you mentioned before, Ryan, the logistics of getting people in and out of packed games is also part of that, and being aware, that that was a problem and improving on those things. And it was just a really, really good interview, and I'll let you hit on some of the other points here, Ed, if you had any thoughts on that too.
Ed, I'm gonna interrupt you there. I believe the video boards are 2011, 2012 season, so it's been 12 years. Of course, I was at the Daily Lobo when they did the renovations. It was kind of, I think, for $60 million, I know some people walked in there and like, well, what the hell is this? Again, I think it looks good. I defend the Pit. It's awesome. It looks good when you walk in there, and you're from here. You are in that building. And again, this year, man, that San Diego State game, I was on the court. I was walking down the ramp trying to get to our seats. And the atmosphere, I took a picture of it. It's something else. I remember, and I've made this comment a lot on here to both of you, and Rick, for the sake of not trying to repeat ourselves, I'll mention my good friends Stephen and our friends Stephen Pena and Mike Matas. We lived and died with Lobo football 20 years ago when we were in high school, and if it weren't for the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, UNM in 2003 should have, could have, would have, you can say that in hindsight right now, should have had a Mountain West Conference title. When you were at those games and that, the mezzanine or the concourse, which I don't know if you can call it a concourse, but between the lower bowl and the bigger bowl, you could not walk in that area, during halftime or quarters. So if you had to pee, you were kind of screwed. If you wanted something to drink, like, it would bottleneck up there bad. So not only was that bottlenecking up there, I remember trying to probably get out of South Lot was not fun, and you waited, but the saving grace of that was the drunk guys or the guys on crack calling into the post-game show and saying how they were going to like a BCS, or calling in and not making sense with Scott Stigler. I love and miss those days. Obviously I think Brandon Ortega and Kenny Thomas were trying to do that with Lobo basketball this year. But when I went to the NMSU game, it was such, we even got there like 2 hours beforehand, and we could not, get in there. It was a nightmare. You're talking to somebody who took New Jersey Transit, which is new. They built that for the Super Bowl in 2014. The MetLife Stadium was built for a Super Bowl, and they kind of half-assed it. I've been to the old Giant Stadium, and you'll see where I'm getting with this. It was a dump. I always say that about Shea Stadium as a Mets fan. Yeah, it was a dump, but it was our dump. And the Buckner ball. But gosh darn, I lost my train of thought. But I don't know. It was such a pain to get in and out of. And I think people were so upset with the NMSU game last year because nobody goes to UNM football anymore. And it's been more than a decade. So I think if they were to get good, I'd be interested to see, what would happen there. And I probably didn't make a point again, so I'm sorry about that, but I'll let you get to it. Cause I've kind of said, and Jeff and JJ did talk about it quite a while ago. I think right before the last football season started, that I made the joke that if Danny's season didn't go well and it was okay, it didn't really live up to the offense was better. The defense allowed a whopping 35.1 points per game. But I just say get rid of the whole stadium and start anew. But obviously there's no money in that. And then Jeff Simietta made a comment, well, where would the UNM football team play at Ice Topes Park? I can tell you that would be an expletive nightmare. But Ed, I'm sorry, I was rambling. Go ahead.
No, it would be. And I think that's one of the reasons United, the Ice Topes have been very good hosts to United, but they want them out of there, man. They don't want to have to keep converting that field to a pitch. And United, they're probably looking forward to the day they don't have to share that stadium. Nothing personal. That's their own field. They don't want to share that. Back in the day. Yeah, it probably is. I don't want to get into that because I don't know the particulars.
No.
Yeah, but Rick, you brought up a good point about what Eddie said about softball. I've done a lot of PA out there for the women's softball team, but I think they got to win, right? You got to win a little bit. Their field, I don't know how to compare it to other Mountain West Conference fields for women's softball. It's okay. It's not bad, but I guess Eddie wants to improve that. They improved the Santa Ana Star Field, the baseball field. They don't have locker rooms, I don't think, out there yet. But the field itself, Coach Birmingham made a lot of improvements out there with the involvement of Krebs and Eddie. They've made a lot of improvements there. So I got to say this about the pit though. It was built in '66, almost 60 years old. Hunter Green said this to me a couple years ago. He said, we should have just built a new one. You look at 60 now, but a lot of people will say that's an iconic place. It is historical. It's got a magic to it. So you really can't, you can't see building, another pit, right? It's still, you mentioned, Ryan, it's a great place to play at. The Lobos men and women's team, the women's team used to get a lot of attendance, a lot of fans out there, more fans than a lot of women's basketball teams did. But and Rick, you mentioned, I read that in the paper about the video boards, and the pit's roof. I'll mention the pit's roof first. You couldn't hang anything from the roof. That was the
That's the
problem.
point I was.
Right.
That's the point I was
Yeah.
getting to. That
Yeah,
was
so
the big problem with the renovation. I'm sorry to
Right.
interrupt, Ed.
No, it's okay. They have these old pictures back in '66 when they're building it. Of course, I was 4 years old. I know I'm old, but I don't remember that. They've got trucks and it looks cool when they're building it. Um, so I think I don't know. They can't. The only problem is the renovation. We talked about this, Ryan. With the renovation, they can't. They made it where they can't bring floors in from the NCAA. They can't do NCAA West or NCAA regionals the way they used to here, and that's a shame. They're not in compliance with ADA laws, things like that. So, I think Eddie's a far-reaching guy. He's got to look outside the bubble, and hopefully, again, I'm going to say this again, Ryan. You mentioned a time when on the concourse, I was there for every football game that you were at. I was there every single Saturday or whenever they played. I was there, and it was an exciting time. And I'm just hoping. I know, Coach Mendenhall has not played a game yet. They have not played a game under his tenure. They're going to have, you threw out the schedule. Their strength of schedule that they play is very, very tough for a team that lost a lot of players, lost their leading rusher, lost a quarterback, lost a lot. They lost their offensive line, the whole thing. They're rebuilding under a new coach. I'm the guy that's the glass half full, but I'm not a Pollyanna saying they're going to win 7 games either. But I'm still looking forward and hoping they're going to get better because Rick and Ryan, when you mentioned that, how it used to be, how it is, how it's been. I remember when it was 44,000 for the Aggies. I was there. I had to park way in the heck of the dirt. I remember that. And the Lobos won. Rocky Long used to bring in 38,000, 35,000. He brought in some crowds. And so I don't know why, Paul Krebs would want to stop that. I still don't get it to this day. And ever since that day, it's been downhill. Bob Davie, we mentioned, took them to 2 bowl games. It did not move the attendance meter. 22,000 they averaged out there at University Stadium. So football is a hard sell here. We have to be honest. As much as I love that program, as much as I want them to succeed, it's a hard sell. So I'm hoping Coach Mendenhall turns it around, and the better days are ahead. And I know the talk is about facilities, and Eddie, again, far-reaching view, has to keep up with the rest of the conference. I told you at Western New Mexico, we had a brand new softball field, one of the best in the Lone Star Conference. It has not translated into wins yet. We won 9 yet last year and 10 this year. Third year, you've got to start winning a little bit more if you're going to tell recruits we've got a great looking stadium here. They want to play there, and you're not winning. So that's my little talk about facilities there.
I want to take a quick commercial break. I want to pay some can't talk tonight. Got to pay some bills. There we go. Because I still want to hit on what Eddie Nunez said this morning on the opening drive with Jeff Simeon and JJ Buck. My name is Ryan Tamori. This is the Pit Press Live with Richard Thompson. Ed Nunez will be right back after this commercial break.
Let him cook. Let him cook now. Let him cook. I said let him cook.
Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. Be help if I wasn't on mute. Welcome back to the Pit Press Live. My name is Ryan Tamori, joined by Richard Thompson.
Richard.
Mr. Ed Nunez, the voice of the Western New Mexico Mustangs. Hoping to bring more energy. I think I was letting you guys down. I was slacking a little bit. We were talking about Eddie Nunez, the UNM athletic director's interview with JJ Buck and Jeff Simieta this morning. We talked about the experience or the facilities and how they needed to be upgraded. I just want to hit on a couple quick comments. And then I will get one to Ed. Ronnie Chavez. I think Ronnie, I've probably read all of your comments tonight, and I shouldn't be doing that. But anyway, what football is missing is tradition, but I like what you said here. Like I mentioned, UNM needs to renovate the outside of the stadium, do something like Clemson does with the bus team, and let them do a walk with the band cheerleaders. They do that. It was a Lobo walk. That was something that Danny Gonzalez implemented, except they were just walking like through a parking lot with nobody in it. And that's not Danny's fault. It's just they tried, and he moved the student section into the north end zone. And at the NMSU game, it was rowdy. It was awesome. It looked like a college football stadium. El Duque. UNM needs I think, some kind of indoor football stadium. Only way you fix it, Lobo fans hate any weather, but inside they take off their coats and get wild up. Please definitely front the money for that. Yeah, the tradition at UNM, it's I won't go there. We'll stay on topic. One of the big things Eddie did hit on was that UNM football had a GPA of 3.2 in the classroom. That's the highest ever by football. Kudos to them. I will give them a golf clap or tennis clap, whatever you call it. This may be due to Broncos takeover last fall and his new system where it tells you that you have some kind of choice to buy season tickets. Hey, that's good news. That's positive. I like to hear that. Much to like what I see on Twitter, where someone said that the Lobo basketball team is like the Lakers. It's still, and I'm not trying to get PC here, it's still, as much as I love college athletics and I live and die with college football, it's still a place of higher learning where you go to get an education. But I'd say a 3.2 in the classroom for the spring semester. Hey, that's really good news. Rick, do you have any thoughts on that?
A few thoughts. No, that's great. It could be due to the new coach telling these guys to take their work in the classroom more seriously, or it could be that there was half the kids in the football program and the half that stayed were smarter than the half that left. But that being said, hopefully, I think it's a good thing. It means he's instilling discipline in these guys, and I think we have a good athletic director. I like the way Eddie was speaking about just the future and kind of just planning for the next steps. And I think he hopefully found a great hire here with Bronco. And I think overall, another thing he was mentioning is that UNM is just at the top of the conference in GPA. Maybe over the past few years, all sports, I believe 16 or 18 sports, that they really do good in the classroom overall. And that's something you like to see, because the athletic department is the one paying these scholarships, and it goes forgotten now in the world of NIL. But yes, scholarships are still being paid out by these schools, and it's not cheap at a lot of schools. So to see kids good grades probably makes the athletic department feel good that they're putting that money to use. So that's good to see, at least.
No, that's good to hear, but that's a valid point with half the team gone. I mean, that probably does help. And again, something else that I read about and I forget, the outcome of college revenue sharing. The college revenue sharing deal is still unclear for UNM. And Eddie said that he told Jeff and JJ that is unclear. That's it's an unknown. That's got to be a little scary if you're in his position. Eric and I have talked off the record, not on the show, that with UNM and the football success they have had, and this is going to burn a lot of Lobo fans' ears, I think they're going to get left behind if there's like a Pac-12 merger, because just for everything, even though what basketball has done, I think it's I think the football program has hurt them because, man, it's just again program killer with what has happened since 2009, 2010. You know, the firing. You know, again, Rocky Long got fired. Ed is. I know we talk sports on here often, but you hear the football program has a 3.2 GPA. It is a university. You go there to get an education. And I guess in this case, win some basketball games. That's good news.
You know what? I think Rick made a great point because I think lost in all this NIL shuffle, all this NIL talk is that's one of the things that Coach Saban said he was leaving because he couldn't develop the 4-year athlete anymore. And part of that is not only developing them on the field or on the court, but in the classroom. I think the 3.2 GPA is something to definitely, you mentioned a golf clap, and I agree with that because it is student athlete. That's what it is. And Rick made me think about that because of all the attention now on the NIL. You got people transferring, moving. Yeah, I just thought about that, and the education is very important. So I'm glad that Eddie focused on that and gave the football team and I think it's been in the past, the golf team had a great GPA, so there's been other programs at UNM that have done well in the classroom. That's very important. I think, all this talk about NIL, we've kind of forgotten, we've taken our eyes off the ball here a little bit. And I think that brings everybody back to a little bit of reality. So I'm glad Eddie mentioned that.
No, I think that's incredibly important. I think that's been lost in translation. We are going to talk a little bit UNM football, but Ed, I'm going to go to you on this one with one of the commenters. And again, hey, feel free to tell me I suck or tell me I'm actually funny on YouTube. Where'd it go? Ice Baby. Ice Baby. Ray Dupree also passed away sometime this week. He was a UNM Lobo, a native from Espanola, New Mexico. I would like to know if Ed remembers him. Ed, that's off to you.
Yeah, I don't, and I normally, if it's somebody that, from the past, it just depends though. That name I don't remember, so I apologize. Ice, love your moniker, man, your handle. Love it. But yeah, I don't remember that name. But I bet you somebody does, and I'll see if I can find out anybody that I know some people up in Espanola, so I'll find out if somebody knows them up there.
That and and me, I love the history. That one rings a bell. Rudy Davalos built it up. Paul Krebs took it down a little bit. Eddie Nunez has done a good job. If and when he leaves, which direction does UNM go? Up and down? Hard to tell. I mean, just about everything. I do the best damn job I can to get us ready for this show, and Rick helps out a lot. I didn't make a graphic for this, but ESPN has their strength of schedule for college football, and they did it for the Mountain West, and I will rip this off even though I hate reading lists, but this helps us. Colorado State is 45th, Colorado State 45, Boise State 51, Fresno State 86, UNLV 91, UNM 92nd, Utah State 93rd, Nevada 94th, San Diego State 104, San Jose State 107, Hawaii 111, Wyoming 113th, and Air Force at 117th. So out of 131 teams, UNM's strength of schedule is 92. Rick, you sent that over to me. That's pretty. I'm a little bit shocked by that. I don't know. Is that? I didn't ask you this first. Is that 92nd hardest or 92nd weakest?
So it's strength, meaning the hardest is at the top. So hardest schedule in the conference is Colorado State, followed by Boise, then Fresno, UNLV, and UNM are about at the same level there. So UNM, by this metric, has the fifth toughest schedule in the conference. I'd have to review the schedule of Colorado State and Boise to see who else they got this year. But, we've been talking about the UNM football schedule for a while now, and it looks like, we said it would be pretty difficult. And looking at the rankings here, 92nd hardest in the country. I don't know how we would rank it against others, but I think UNM would be a lot more comfortable probably falling down and not having to play some of those tougher teams this season with Arizona and Auburn on the schedule, along with Washington State later in the year. But I'm really looking forward this year to watching Boise State. I think they have a great returning running back and some options at quarterback, and I think they have the potential to make a run to the playoff this year and give the Mountain West a team in the big dance. So they got a tough schedule, and I know we'll be talking more about Boise because they're probably the best team in the conference by far, in my opinion. So.
They are projected to go to the college football playoff and I think represent the Mountain West. I think it works if you win the conference. And then there's a couple wild cards in there. Boise State opens at Georgia Southern over Labor Day weekend. Then they go to Oregon, Portland State, Washington State, Utah State, Hawaii, UNLV, San Diego State, Nevada, San Jose State, Wyoming, Oregon State, and then Colorado State. Fantastic live show here. Colorado State is at Texas, Northern Colorado, but they get Colorado at home this year. They don't go to Boulder. UTEP, Oregon State, San Jose State Air Force, New Mexico, Nevada, Wyoming, Fresno State, and Utah State. Ed, we had talked about the strength of schedule. We've looked at the schedule. I don't, we've talked about it a little bit. Just thoughts when you hear that. Again, that's per ESPN.
You know what, you mentioned a lot about Coach Mendenhall. 5 home games this year. That's all he's got. Arizona. He's got Auburn. They've got Boise State, Utah State. They've got a very
they don't get Boise State this year.
Okay, so
that is a positive, but
that is like I think we said that 4 wins would be a huge victory, I think. But I think we've been through their schedule. It's very tough, especially for a team we mentioned that's rebuilding almost from the ground up on all phases of the game, as far as they're concerned with their offensive, defensive line, special teams, the whole enchilada. New coach, new program. So 5 home games. I was kind of surprised they only had. And don't they have 3 bye weeks? I think that's one of the things Coach Mendenhall talked about as well.
They don't play the week after Arizona, so they don't play the first weekend of September. They play week 0, so they're one of like 16 or 17. I don't know, maybe not that many, like 12 games on August 24th, and then Labor Day weekend is when that season kicks off that Thursday night of Labor Day weekend. But again, I need to make a graphic, but to reiterate, host Montana State, UNM's 2024 schedule. They host Montana State, who's a very, very good FCS team. At Arizona, Brett Brennan leaves from San Jose State. He goes there. Fafita, I always forget the kid's first name, but his last name's Fafita. He's the quarterback. He chose to stay.
And Ryan, I don't know if you can tell me this off the top of your head, but was the last matchup versus Arizona football in 2008? Was it in 2008 when we went to the game?
No, that was so that was 2007 when they beat them there. And they had a highly touted quarterback, but he was concussion. He had several concussions. They beat them 29-27. We were at that game.
And to anyone that thinks we're not Lobo fans, we sat in a sold-out stadium in the Arizona section, about 10 of us Lobo fans, and we gave them hell the whole game, and they asked us to leave their section multiple times. Last play of the game, touchdown, deep ball. Can't remember the receiver's name. He ran up to us and gave us high fives in the crowd after the game. So to anyone that thinks we're not fans, we were willing to sit in Rebel territory and take it on the shins, and it was well worth it.
No, it was
I always enjoy the U of A games. It's a good rivalry.
Yeah, I wish they'd play a lot more. And Texas Tech, but again, it is what it is. But again, here's the schedule for New Mexico. Montana State at Arizona, at Auburn, host Fresno, at New Mexico State, host Air Force, at Utah State, at Colorado State, home against Wyoming, at SDSU, host Washington State. That's the last home game on November 16th. And then a week and a half later, after Thanksgiving, they head to Hawaii. Yeah, so they've got 3 or 4 bye weeks in there. That's good for them. But yeah, man, I look at that schedule and it's just like, it's brutal. And they already have a line out. Arizona, according, I think it was Westgate in Vegas, minus 30. So U of A is a 30-point favorite to UNM, and I wouldn't be surprised if some, sharps or somebody out there like myself, I'm not a sharp, but would take U of A minus 30. I don't know how you do that, but again, that's also a revenge game for Danny Gonzalez. Even though I know he loves UNM and he loves that program, and he's still a Lobo, he is the special teams guy. He's the special teams coordinator at U of A now under Brett Brennan, again, who left San Jose State. So I don't know. We shall see. But again, we had Sean O'Toole from Mountain West Wire on last week. He helped us break down Air Force. He covers Air Force for them. I was efforting somebody in Boise who covers Boise State, because we know how much of a big deal Boise State football is. I went up there and saw that game last year. Checked that off my bucket list of things I want to do in the sports world. And Andy Avalos got fired the next day, the former Boise State head coach, who covered against Boise, beat them by 28, and it was 27.5. The spread. Devin Dampier started that game, but that's how they treat football up there. He got fired after beating a team and covering against them that they should have. I guess it wasn't enough. But we'll have more coverage as we get football coverage as we start steamrolling towards August. And just a FYI, Ed and I will be at Mountain West Conference Football Media Days at the Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada. I did it last year. Circa's the best. It's 21 and over, and it has stadium swim. My hotel last year, and I've been to Vegas way too many times in my life for business and pleasure. I think like a handful of bachelor parties too. But my hotel room overlooked not only the Strip, but stadium swim. And man, doesn't get much better than that. We have to discuss this because it does play into college basketball. And I'm also maybe a little bit of late news. So I should just title the show Tomorrow's News Today, or Yesterday's News Today. Butchered that joke again too, but I've got 2 Laker fans on this show with me, and I will start with Rick. Danny Hurley rejects it. He will not become the Lakers head coach. He will stay at UConn. They offered him $7 million. I think you guys can disagree with me. I think for something, and I've kind of see it with the Giants because, they're respected as this kind of top 10 NFL organization, a top tier. You're in Manhattan. You've won Super Bowls. You've done it right. And they're kind of a joke right now. They don't have things together. But hey, if you would have told me 2 years ago, Danny Dimes got them to Daniel Jones got them to the divisional round, I would have told you've been smoking crack. But I think the Lakers kind of they don't look like the Lakers, I think. And I think there's still an asterisk next to the bubble championship, but I wanted your guys' thoughts. And Rick, I will start with you.
Yes, I guess there's 2 sides to it. On the Lakers side, I couldn't agree more with you. If the Lakers wanted to hire a James Borrego or JJ Redick, they could have done it by now. And it seems like this shot at Coach Hurley only came about once they got wind that he was having negotiations with UConn, and it sounds like their process with him wasn't very formal. And Shams Charania reported it was kind of a Hail Mary attempt where they gave him that offer, which was doubling what he could have made at UConn. And I'm kind of happy that it didn't work, though, as a fan, because history has proven that college coaches over time have not been that successful. If you look at the most recent ones, John Beilein from Michigan, I don't know if he lasted a full season. coaching the Cavaliers. Billy Donovan has done a decent job. Brad Stevens obviously was good for a few years. Rick Pitino was not successful. So over the course of time, I just think it's hard for college coaches, even at the NFL to college level, to come in and gain the respect of grown men making millions of dollars, opposed to where they have maybe a more respect factor from kids in college and they're more willing to buy into the program. So for Coach Hurley, I could see both sides of it. A lot of college coaches are leaving college now, right? Or taking lesser roles as assistants at other programs, and they don't want to be dealing with this NIL world. Whereas the pro world is actually more stable, and you know what your team's going to be more to year. So it's hard to turn down coaching the Los Angeles Lakers if you're Coach Hurley, not Bobby Hurley, but Coach Hurley. And but what he's building there is something historic. And when you can take a player like he had, a 5-star recruit like Stephen Castle, and have him buy into the system and still become a lottery pick this year, it shows you what he's able to do with his program. He's able to get guys to buy in, play their role, and he can still turn them into top NBA picks. And must have just been hard to turn that down. But I wouldn't want to go coach LeBron in that circus either. So I can't blame him at the end of the day with the way that LeBron goes through coaches. So I understand it on his side, definitely.
I'm pretty anti-LeBron, but we're not going to go down that because this is not a national sports talk show. I remember watching the decision and it made me cringe. But as a Knicks fan, he didn't go to New York, so the hell with him. And then he went to the Heat. I had a Dutch orange and blue shirt as a kid that said "Beat the Heat." If you go back to that '90s rivalry, I love the old NBA. What I've seen, we'll talk about the finals before we end the show because I think that this has been a terrible playoff to watch.
I mean, my last. Can you imagine Coach Hurley screaming at LeBron or screaming at AD and demanding that they do things? That I don't know if that style would be effective at the NBA level. Not that he's not a brilliant coach. We haven't seen it carry over. Even look at when Nick Saban tried to move into the NFL, he was terrible. So I just don't see it working in that way.
I saw him coach in person. I saw him coach the Dolphins in San Diego against the Chargers, right when LaDainian Tomlinson was shooting up, and the Chargers were trying to make the playoffs in 2005. It was late in the season. I went with Joe Martinez, somebody else we went to high school with, and they went in there and won and kind of messed up the Chargers' playoff hopes. And then they had that phenomenal season the next year under Marty Schottenheimer. But you talk about how good Dan Hurley is. Think about it. He had Adama Sanago. And just Donovan Clingan came off the bench last year and just plugged him in this year, and they repeated. And Donovan Clingan was a dominant big man, and he's a very, very. I think it's kind of like Zach Edey. I think he's a much better. They're not clumsy big guys. Like they're pretty. You guys are the X's and O's, but I think they're pretty good college players. It's just not like you give him the ball and Yvonne make basket. Like that's not what it is. Ed, again, not making light of your age, but you've seen a lot more Lakers basketball. You are a diehard Lakers fan. I'm glad Dan Hurley didn't go. I'm glad Danny Hurley didn't go. I'm glad he stayed in college basketball. I'm a bigger college basketball fan. I think it's a better product. I'm going to get ripped for that. David Kinienda. But I just wanted your thoughts.
Well, you mentioned I've been a Laker fan since '72 and seen a lot. You mentioned I don't think there's any problem mentioning LeBron, whether it's a national show or not. That decision made me cringe too. And I remember when it happened, and I think the thing that made me cringe more than anything was I'm taking my talents to South Beach. We're going to win 5, 6, 7. That really ticked me off.
Not one, not two,
right.
Not three.
It's hard enough to win one. We know that. It's hard to win. So when he started saying that, I remember telling Nick, my son who's part of our podcast, he's just been really busy lately. I was like, I can't stand that dude. He's like, Dad,
I miss him.
Yeah, you know what? He's just, man, my son is just real busy with work, but he wants to come back on. He'll be back on. But I remember him saying, Dad, what if he comes to the Lakers? And that was such a far thought out of my mind. I was like, that'll never happen. And then when it did, I can't say the LeBron's not a great player. He is. But here's my take. He's a hired gun. He's a mercenary, man. And when he's done with your franchise, he leaves it barren for years to come, the landscape. Now, am I going to say that I didn't see him make plays like, oh, my gosh, look at that. Wow. Of course. Of course I did. He's a great player. But I think, Rick, you mentioned, too, it's a circus. It's a sideshow. Genie Bus. I looked at that. Okay, I thought J.J. Redick was number one. All of a sudden, they're pursuing Dan Hurley out of the blue. I'm like, when did that happen? I knew right away he wasn't coming. I knew it. I knew it. I didn't feel for 1 second he was going to come. And I think, Rick, you mentioned a couple of reasons why. Now, Jeannie Buss, Jerry Buss, the late Laker owner, was a fantastic, GM or president. And then he had Jerry West. To be honest with you, when Jerry West left, they won some titles with Jackson as coach and Kobe and Shaq. They're a storied franchise. Like them or hate them, don't whatever. They've won 17. I've got to see them win 12 in my lifetime, man. 12 championships, and I enjoyed every single one, including the asterisk one you mentioned, Ryan. Enjoyed the hell out of that one. As much as I enjoyed the rest of them, I enjoyed that one too. But I got to say this: they're at a crossroads because I'm hoping it's not J.J. Redick. I have nothing against J.J. Redick. He's got no coaching experience. That's a LeBron hire. So then, if you draft Bronny, how in the heck do you coach that? Because LeBron's going to want him in at certain times when he shouldn't be in. He's they say he's probably not NBA ready. Maybe he develops, and that's what Jeannie Buss, I think, was hoping for. Get Hurley in, re-sign LeBron, draft Bronny. Hurley, who's known as a great player developer, develops Bronny, and in a couple of years we have our sales guy that's going to sell tickets for the next 20. That's what it's about. When they decided whether to go with Kobe or Shaq, they went with Kobe because Kobe was going to younger and is going to sell tickets. That's what they're thinking of. That's why they're going to hold on to LeBron. She will, Jeannie Buss, for as long as she can because he sells tickets. So she's put him on a Laker list above Jerry West, which I had a real problem with. Jerry West to me is an all-time Laker great, and I don't think LeBron belongs on a list above him. But in her mind, I think she thinks he belongs above Magic. I'm not sure about Kobe. Because Kobe is in her mind, Laker great. But right now, she can pursue him and have him sell tickets for however long he's going to be there, and maybe draft Bronny. But you imagine, I'm hoping the coach is James Borrego, but it's almost like I never thought Danny Hurley's coming. I never did. But you imagine who's ever signed to be the coach. It's almost like, oh, it's this guy. Oh, wow. But good luck, Rick. You hit the nail on the head. It's a circus there. And ever since 2020, when they won the championship, Rob Pelinka let go of Alex Caruso, Contavious Caldwell-Pope, JaVale McGee, guys that were really key to that championship team. It's been hard. It's been tough. Rui Hachimura, I like him, right? There's some players I love. I think AD's a heck of a player. He played 76 games this year. Yes, he's brittle. I understand that. He had a hell of a year this year. He did. But as long as LeBron James is there, all I say is good luck. I'll still watch. I'll be a fan no matter, when, where. It's just hard, I think, when he's around a coach. And I think, Rick, you made a good point. How's Danny Hurley going to say, hey, in one play this year, LeBron took the board from Darvin Ham. He took it from him and said, I got this. So how can you coach that? How can you coach that, man? He's not, again, a great player. I don't have anything against him. I just think as long as he's around, Jeannie Buss is going to do whatever she can to keep him in the lineup. And if she can draft his son, she's thinking from a marketing standpoint, right? Oh, we've got LeBron and Bronny playing. It's never been done. Do you want that done? Because, LeBron's going to want, like I said, he's going to want him in situations he shouldn't be in. So good luck. I'll be definitely watching to see what's next. I'm hoping it's James Borrego's the next coach. We'll see what happens. But I'll tell you what, to me, it was a clown show. It was embarrassing. He was never going to go there. They made a pitch to him. They said $11 million a year, and then they said California taxes would have given him $6 million a year. You have to pay $5 million a year in California taxes. I don't know how much true that is. You do have to pay a lot of taxes in California. So, maybe they should have offered him more money. He was never going to come anyway, ever. I don't care if they give him $20 million. He's not going. There's no way. Someone's telling him. I'm sure his brother Bobby, who played in the NBA with Sacramento, as the Arizona State coach, is like, what are you thinking, dude? Are you serious? You can't coach that dude. I'm sure they had some talks. So the Lakers back to the drawing board, and as a longtime Laker fan, I'll be watching and seeing what happens.
And this could have just been a move by Coach Hurley to get more money, right? To try to leverage this situation so that UConn pays him a little bit more, and so he gets other NBA calls in the future. So I think it's a good move for him to just get his name out there, whether or not he really wanted the job. But just think, looking back, LeBron has already been through Luke Walton, Coach Vogel, who actually won a title and then got fired for some reason, Darvin Ham, and I have no idea who it's going to be at this point. But I have a question for you, Ryan. If you could pick to coach your New York Knicks or your favorite college basketball team, who are you picking?
Oh, damn. Man, that's a good question. I've never been a Coach K guy. He's a real guy's guy. Dead air. I like what Danny Hurley's done. I really liked what Billy Donovan did at Florida in 2006, 2007. That was unprecedented. I'm surprised there hasn't been like more done on that. I'm sure they were. I think I've heard that it's Florida, it's UF. It's that Netflix documentary on that team last year was under Urban Meyer was kind of lackluster. But I watched it anyway because I love college football. And then you look at who was on those football teams. Not answering the question. I like Billy Donovan. I think there was a lot of probably legal shit going on there, just like anywhere else. I mean, Ed, I might surprise you guys. I would take Jerry Tarkanian. And if you watched Winning Time, which I need to watch clipped, and Rick, I give this kudos. You called it Losing Time because it's so bad. Our friend Steven watched it and he was like, dude, it's so bad. It's good. Like he's like, it's up your alley. Cause I love B movies. And I love Ed O'Neill. He's such a likable guy. I don't know how he can play Donald Sterling, but I love in that commercial, how he's just eating that hot dog. It looks so gross. I would take Jerry Tarkanian. I love a lot of, again, I got a history degree from UNM, print journalism.
I'm asking who would you rather coach? If you were a coach, would you rather coach your New York Knicks in the Garden, or would you rather coach your favorite college basketball team? If you were in Coach Hurley's spot, would you be able to turn down the NBA job? I don't think I could have turned down the Lakers, to be honest. That's the most historic team.
I totally butchered that, man. I would coach the Knicks. I've seen, and the reason I'm telling you this is because I've seen a college game in the Garden, and it was okay, and it was an Elite Eight game. I saw South Carolina in 2017 beat Florida to get there, and in New York City, you have your big pockets of alumni for those schools, especially something like a Florida, University of Florida, and something like a South Carolina. It's the Knicks, man. There's like 3 or 5 organizations. It's the Lakers, it's the Celtics, it's you can disagree with me. I think it's the Bulls, and I think the Knicks are in there because it's the Garden. When they sucked, and they have been horrible for 20 years. I saw them in their heydays with our boy, the fighting Tim Chavez's Seton Hall fighting Tim Chavez's Tim. We went to an Indiana Pacers game where Danny Granger was hurt, and there was nobody on the Pacers, and the Knicks were going through. I saw Danilo Gallinari like baptize somebody on the Pacers, and that was the highlight of the game. And the Knicks sucked, and they won like 12 games, and that was one of them or whatever. But it was still sold out, and Paul McCartney was there. I was in the same building with him. Obviously, I didn't see him perform, but he was there at the Garden. It's just a different. I can't wait for that.
That's what I'm saying. And
yeah,
Ed, I know you would be taking that Lakers job, Ed, over any college job.
Yeah, you know what? It's funny. Okay, so I got a story to tell you guys. It's kind of funny. Back in the day, years ago, when John Wooden coached UCLA, and Jack Kent Cook was the Laker owner. He wanted Wooden to coach the Lakers, and Wooden kept saying no, no, no. Finally, he gets him in the house. He gets him to Jack Kent Cook gets him to come to his house. He puts an offer out there, and And John Wooden looks at it and says, no one is worth that kind of money. And Ken Cook said, get out, kicked him out of his house. So it was funny. I remember reading that story, and John Wooden's a college coach. He's not going to go coach Will Chamberlain and Jerry West and Baylor. He's not. It's the same thing here, I think. Now, you're right. Now, the Fabulous Forum doesn't exist anymore. It's not Staples anymore. What is it now? I can't even remember what it is. The arena
Crypt.
they play in. Yes, the Crypt. But still, they've won championships there. I remember even going to that preseason game that we went to when they played Golden State. Man, it was exciting. I'll tell you what, seats at the very top cost us $1,000 a seat, man. I'm talking about the very top. But you know what? For me to be there as a Laker fan, I never got to see a game in the Forum. The Lakers are a historic franchise, a storied one. So I think Danny Hurley may have thought about it for a fleeting second, and then the basketball dudes come in like, man, what are you thinking, dude? What are you thinking? You got that guy there. Again, LeBron's a great player. I'm not saying he's not. He's one of the greatest to ever, play in the NBA. There's no doubt. But he's, you mentioned, Rick, he's all the coaches that he's been through in his career. This goes back to Cleveland, in Miami, Spoelstra. When he left Miami, Riley is still mad about that. Still ticked off. Pat Riley's still mad. And he's got his freedom to go wherever he wants. He's just, like I said, when I saw him do that to Darvin Ham, take the board away from him, and maybe Darvin Ham wasn't, I don't know, maybe I was partial to Darvin Ham because I knew him when he coached here for the Thunderbirds in the G League, and a great guy. Maybe it's hard to coach there, though. You're right, Rick. Thought it was a mistake that they fired Frank Vogel. I did. The thing is, he won the championship, and then Pelinka totally turned around that 2020 roster. He stacked the chips on him, man. He did. He brought in Russell Westbrook. How did that work? That was not a good experiment. And what has Westbrook done with the Clippers? I like him a lot. I mean, he's a good player, but he's a team killer, man. He is. Then they put Harden and George together, and you mentioned losing time with the Clippers. They've never been to an NBA final in 54 years. But give them, they had a good season this year. But, this goes back to when they were the Buffalo Braves, the San Diego Clippers, and then the Los Angeles Clippers. 54 years, no NBA finals appearances. 0. But I do want to see that series clipped. I do want to see that. That looks pretty good to me. But
the actors apparently look. I need to watch it. It might be on the.
Lawrence Fishburne plays Doc Rivers. So I don't know how close that is to looking like Doc, but yeah. So
there's a guy playing Klay Thompson that looks like me. Let's leave it at that.
I saw that. Yeah, he does look like you.
Winning time to me, I got to tell you this now. I'm a big Laker fan, right? So I didn't miss 1 week of one show, and some of it was bad, but I had read the books by who's
Jeff
that guy?
Pearlman.
Jeff Pearlman. Read every single
who
one
we had on the show.
Yeah, I'd read every single one of them, and I know a lot of their history, a bunch of it, because I read a lot about it and watched it. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed that series. The only part that really had me laughing was a portrayal of Jerry West as some unhinged lunatic, man. That made me laugh because, yes, he was very paranoid. Yes, to a lot of things, but they had this dude throwing golf clubs through windows, trophies through windows. That kind of stuff was pretty funny to me.
It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, going back to the Lakers, Rick, you've been a fan for a while. I've been a fan for a long time. And right now I'm just looking at them like, somehow I hope they get it together. I'm almost sure they're going to keep LeBron. Now drafting Bronny, that is a reach to me, but we'll see if that happens. If they draft Bronny and they hire JJ Redick, that's all Bron. That's all a Bron move there, and the Bronification of the Lakers continues. So a lot to see here yet. Still, I'm still hoping James Borrego, the former Charlotte Hornets coach and the former Albuquerque Academy star here, and then his son is playing for Albuquerque Academy. Got to do a couple of his games this year. He's a ninth grader, a nice player. So I'm hoping he gets a look and a chance, and he at least has NBA experience. I don't have anything against JJ Redick personally, but he has no NBA experience. So I would think that would be if he's
coaching
hired,
experience.
Coaching, he has no NBA coaching experience. He does a podcast with LeBron, so I'm thinking if he's hired, that's kind of a little tip of the hat to LeBron. So, and we'll see.
My final diss on LeBron is I don't know what was worth. I don't know what was worse, Space Jam: A New Legacy or his Game 4 performance in the 2011 NBA Finals, which he was 3 of 11, 0 for 3 from 3, and he had 8 points. And I think like an assist or two. I don't, we're not having that conversation. I just know personally, because I like the old NBA, and if I'm not even a Hawks fan. I just like Dominique Wilkins, the human highlight reel, right? Or human highlight show. I think Jordan, it's Jordan for me. And I'm a Knicks fan. I was barely old enough. I remember, man, I was in New Jersey with my grandfather, and it was just like, fucking Bulls, man. They always got the Knicks. Rick, how do I pronounce his last name? The girl that Kay Adams always hits on. I know it's Shams, but I just know him as Shams. I never knew his last.
Sharania.
Sharania. I butchered it on the show. How can I mispronounce this UFC fighter's name?
Shams Sharania.
Shams Sharania. I can't believe he's not with Kay Adams. The way that those clips. You sent me this interesting info from him. Shams Sharania. Did I say it right there? On the Lakers' pursuit of Danny Hurley. JJ was their first option from the beginning. That was weeks ago. Lakers only recently found out last week that Dan Hurley was having contract negotiations with UConn. Lakers jumped the gun and offered Dan Hurley, quote, a Hail Mary contract, hoping to sway him away from the University of Connecticut. Executives believe the Lakers didn't have a good formal process. That's what it seems like, and that's why I don't think he took the job. And I don't think he was going to have total control because it was probably a shit show. Executives believe the Lakers were used as leverage for Dan Hurley negotiating with UConn, meaning he never intended to come in the first place. But kudos to him. I think that's really funny. We're gonna wrap up this show here quickly. I think the biggest news, and I should have led with it, and I'm sorry that I didn't. Is Habtab Samuel. He is your 2024 NCAA 10,000 meter and national championship. This is his first year at UNM. He is a Tarian-born freshman. Sound like a typical American. He finished as the national runner-up at the 2023 NCAA cross-country championships before placing 4th in the 5,000 meter and 7th in the 3,000 meter. Those were both at the 2004 NCAA indoor championships. He earned first-team All-American honors 3 times, but coming up short of it out of an individual crown. It was one of the most dominant runs in UNM program history. So kudos to him. I mean, that's really good looking for UNM. I'm sure Eddie Nunez is happy about that. We didn't talk about that. Hopefully we can have Tom Samuel on the show.
And he fell down actually early in the race, and I watched the interview afterwards. He said he was scared that he wasn't even going to have a chance after falling. And talk about a dog. I mean, he got up and just hauled total ass. I can't imagine being able to run that fast for that long. I mean, what these guys do, and we're going to be seeing the Olympics coming up, and it's just incredible. Hats off to that young man getting up and still winning the race after falling.
I can't wait for the Olympics. It should be death taxes in the
and hopefully the NIL world doesn't eliminate some of these Olympic sports, because if it does, it's going to weaken what I think will be the Olympic feeder system, right? If you start eliminating it from colleges, then who's going to feed these into the Olympic programs? So we shall see.
No, that's very cool. Congrats to him. I know I should have led with that. I'm really sorry I messed that up. Basketball's our bread and butter. But that's big news. This is also big. UNM men's golf head coach Jake Harrington will coach Team USA later this month at the 2024 Toyota Junior Golf World Cup. Players have to be 18 and under and not attending college or universities. Rick, let me get you off there. Sorry about that. He will be coaching the event for the second time, having also coached Team USA in 2013 when the American squad featured future Masters Championship and current world number one golfer in Scotty Scheffler. Quote, from Harrington. I'm extremely excited to go back. Anytime you can represent Team USA as a coach, it's an incredible opportunity. The Toyota World Junior Cup celebrates its 30th edition this year. Team USA has won 9 boys titles, last in 2017. Past participants include Justin Rose, John Ram, Hideki Matsuyama. The boys teams, the field is Spain, Netherlands, South Africa, Japan, Thailand, Australia, USA, Mexico, Peru. Girls teams are Sweden, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Japan, Korea, Australia, Canadian, USA, Mexico, Colombia, and Argentina. The UNM, and then other golf news, the UNM men's and women's golf team will compete this October in the debut of the NB3 match play at Twin Warriors, the tournament hosted by Nota Begay III. And the Pueblo of Santa Ana will be held on October 8th and 9th and consists of 4 schools competing in the newest event of the Golf Channel's fall collegiate golf schedule. It will be on the Golf Channel and Peacock, so that's very cool. Both live events, 3:30 to 6:30 Mountain on October 8th, and then 4:30 to 2:30 to 5:30 on October 9th. That's very cool. Rick, you're a big golfer. That's got to be exciting to hear.
Yeah,
that
when
news.
you see the names like the likes of Stanford and Texas, obviously Tiger Woods went to Stanford with many notable others, and
Nota Begay.
yeah, it'll be. Yeah, well, of course, Noda. Noda has his own dining hall in Ladera Golf Course as well, and he's on the Golf Channel every morning. He's at the U.S. Open, so check out Noda. He really knows his stuff. But this tournament will be great. I think it's going to be free for people to go attend. If you guys haven't been up to the Twin Warriors course, it's a beautiful place up there, and the golf course is very challenging as well. And get out there and take a look at Stanford and Texas, because you'll be seeing some future pros that'll be out there. I know Stanford has one of the top amateur players in the world right now. He's 4 and his name's leaving me, but and seeing the women will be cool as well. And one thing you don't really realize until you're out watching these college guys is even the 7th or 8th best guy on the team is really, really good and 10 times better than the average golfer. So that's really exciting. It'll be on TV and give some coverage of New Mexico as well.
The one thing I'm aware of with the the LPGA is I butchered that bad. I'm tired tonight, I guess. The LPGA Tour is they always have the ShopRite Classic, and ShopRite's a grocery chain in New York, New Jersey. And it's outside. It's in a township called Galloway, New Jersey, and it's very ritzy. And you can see Atlantic City in the background. I've been all over New Jersey. I've never been to Atlantic City. I need to go. I've heard it's kind of a ghost town, but I guess for my money, I'd always go to Vegas. We appreciate everybody in the comments section. I just want to throw a shout out to that. Again, this is the Pit Press Live. I'm Ryan Tamori, Rick Thompson,
Richard,
and Ed Nunez. Before we go, I'm very disappointed that the Edmonton Oilers will probably not win the Stanley Cup. They are offensive. The Panthers play defense, and I think that one's going to be over quick unless they can figure something out in Edmonton with that long flight from Miami, Sunrise, Florida to Edmonton. I wanted your thoughts on the first 2 games of the NBA Finals. I will say this, man, it's been painful. I'm 2-1-1 in my bets, but it's been painful to watch. I think the NBA playoffs, and this is not a hot take. I know you guys are big NBA guys. Man, I just think this playoff has been unwatchable. Teams cannot keep leads, and then there have been massive blowouts. But I think, I don't know, man, I just don't feel like the NBA playoffs have been what they were. I mean, even when LeBron was in Miami, those series with the Spurs, and it was religion to me, because I lost a little bit of interest there. I don't know, just holy ground in the 90s, and it's just been painful for me to watch. It's almost as it's been not competitive, but there's like no, Rick, you kind of said it with the guys in the West, like there's no LeBron, there's no Steph. But I don't want to say it's lackluster. I think Jaylen Brown has played phenomenal. I think that even this first 2 games in this series have been officiated pretty poorly. But it's just, I don't know. It's just been weird to me. Rick, I've told you, I've mentioned it on the show, and we've talked about it a lot, and I know I'm repeating myself. Hey, role players can do it for you. And I think Jason Kidd has done a phenomenal job coaching. And I think up to this point, up to Thursday night, Kyrie has been maybe the unsung hero of this playoff. But I still don't get how the hell Dallas got there, because nobody else has showed up besides Luka. And if nobody does that, this is going to be a sweep. But I wanted your thoughts on the first two games of the final, your analysis.
Yeah, like you're saying, it comes down to the other pieces outside of those stars, and Luka has no help right now. Kyrie is doing nothing. Washington is not shooting the ball well. Gafford kind of looks like a shadow of what he was in the last series. And when you look across to the Celtics, their two star players haven't had great games, but the role players have played really well. If you look at what Porzingis did that first game, he came out streaking, and I think he had 18 points in the first half. Well, now he has an injury. How effective is he going to be moving forward? Is this the break that Dallas really needed to get a little bit of relief, to have somebody on the Celtics that might be a little slowed down? Because Drew Holiday is capable of having a big game. So is Derek White. And then on Dallas's side, you got nothing. And Luka's hobbling into the game, probably getting shot up with Turadol just so he can walk out there. And he's still putting up 30 and a triple-double. So you've probably pretty much covered it, Ryan. It hasn't been very entertaining. I'm hoping that Dallas wins these two games at home and makes it more interesting, but it has not been very enjoyable for me just as a basketball fan. And I'll watch any game usually, but these ones have not been up there for some reason for me either.
Ed, your breakdown.
I think what Rick said is a lot. Now, remember, Kyrie played for Boston, a couple years ago, and they were looking for a big series. He had a big series against OKC. Well, he's a great finisher. Luka's a great finisher, but I think Rick's right. If you look at him the other night, he was laboring, kind of holding his side a little bit. He doesn't defend. He turned the ball over 8 times on Sunday. Now, he's a great player, so I don't want anybody to think, hey, I think he makes me laugh because he talks a lot of trash. He's funny to me. But you know what? On Sunday, he was definitely he was hurting. There's no question about it. Those turnovers really hurt them at the end of the game, but I think he was tired. Rick's right. He's the only one, 32 points on Sunday. Nobody else really. One guy, who was it? I can't remember, shot a complete air ball. Wide open 3, shot an air ball. And somebody mentioned today they might dust off Tim Hardaway, see what he's got. He hasn't played. Maybe they bring him in. But I think the other thing, here's what the other thing I think. Boston did what they were supposed to do. They defended home court. Dallas is going back, and Rick, a great point there about Porzingis, who always seems to be hurt. He gets injured a lot. He does. He had a big first game, and I thought if you looked at Rick, you know ball pretty well. They put him on that left elbow, and there was always somebody smaller there, and he shoots right over him and was hitting and getting fouled. He did what he's supposed to do. Anytime anybody was smaller on me, I was like, oh, give me the ball. I'm scoring, man. There's no way this guy's stopping me. So Porzingis did what he had to do in games 1 and 2 before he got hurt. The other guy that Boston has now, Drew Holiday has played very well, as well. The other guy they have that is a veteran, knows what he's doing, will get the 50-50 loose balls, hit a 3. Al Horford, guard the other team's toughest player. He's a tough veteran, man. That's a good, I hate Boston. This goes back all the way to Larry Bird and Ainge and Johnson and McHale and Parrish. Although I admired the heck out of Bird and McHale. I admired them. They're really good players. I just hated them because the Lakers hated Boston at that time. So I want Dallas to win as a result of that. They've got a chance. I think Rick's right again about that, about going home. You got you're in familiar territory. You played well at home. Here's a chance, but if they win game 3, Boston wins game 3, where they keep saying no team has ever come back from a 3-0 series deficit.
This
game
team
3
ain't coming back down 3-0.
No, this game is very important for Dallas on Thursday. If they can get one, that gives them some confidence. And but right now the way they're playing, Boston has done very well in guarding Irving with size, sending the double team, getting a hand up with length and making it. He's missed some easy shots in the paint, shots that he normally makes with his eyes closed. He's missed. So I think they have to have a big game from Kyrie on Thursday. Otherwise, this series is over.
You know what's very funny, just on the history of stuff, and we were talking about the 80s and 90s. I probably fell back in love with the NBA. I didn't. I thought, as the Knicks fan, I thought the 08 Celtics were cool because of Garnett. Sorry. 09 and 2010, I think Hito Turkoglu was cool in 09. I didn't really care in 2010. I know you guys are Laker fans, but really what I think jolted my getting back into the NBA, and I didn't like them in the late 2000s was Dirk and the Mavericks. But what happened in 2011 and when they won the West and that run, who did Dirk beat? They beat the Lakers, the Spurs. And Oklahoma City. I think they swept them in the Western Conference Finals. Or maybe I could be wrong. Maybe 6. They probably but I think it was OKC in the Western Conference Finals, the Lakers in the second round and the Spurs in the first round. But I think what that rejuvenated my love of the NBA for a couple seasons there. And because of the not 1, the not 2, the not 3, the not 4 with LeBron and Chris Bosh, who I love Chris Bosh and I love Dwayne Wade. I don't really hold it against them. But very quickly, I think with Dallas in the playoffs right now, I've watched some YouTube, a little bit of documentary on those finals, and them rallying against D Wade, them rallying against the Heat in the second game, and Dwayne Wade hitting that 3 in the corner. Rick, do you remember that? And it kind of shut the crowd up, and I think he stood in front of the Mavericks bench. I just think for the amount of shit that they talked and the amount of like they were going to win and they got beat, like Dirk, and I've changed my opinion on Dirk, and I didn't like the Mavericks for some odd reason, and I just love that team did that. And we were talking about LeBron earlier, and this might be a hot take. I kind of thought that LeBron's tenure in Miami was kind of a failure because they lost 2 finals. I know they won 2, but they went 500. They were going to rip off like 6 or 7 in a row. You talk that kind of shit to me, that was a failure. But I know I'm reminiscent because I love the history of sports in this country. And I think from an X's and O's standpoint, I think they're like not socially, just from like an importance of just X's and O's in games winning. I would put like over the last 25, 30 years, even as a Giants fan, as a New York Football Giants fan, I think number 1 is the Red Sox coming back in the ALCS and winning 8 in a row. And then Dirk knocking off Miami, because from a history standpoint, just because of what that meant to the NBA. So that's my rant to finish things off. But Rick, as somebody who's watched when we were in college and, when we redid, my mom's house, we were always watching everything and anything at our house, but I watched a lot of NBA playoffs games with you. And I absolutely, the 2011 NBA finals sticks out in my mind more so than a lot of other NBA finals that I watched with, as much as I loved the Jordan years. And I liked what Golden State did early, and I rewatched the last 5 minutes of, Cleveland winning in Game 7. And that was unreal because Golden State couldn't score like in the last 5 minutes. It was or the last 2 or 3 minutes there. It was unreal to me. I will shut up there though. But Rick, I don't know if you had anything to piggyback off that before we sign off here.
Just last final comment on the Mavericks and Dirk Nowitzki. I don't want to hear Karl Anthony Towns or any big man saying they're the best shooting big man of all time until they've watched some footage of Dirk. There's no other better big man shooter than Dirk, and I don't know if there ever will be unless you want to put Kevin Durant into that category.
I agree with that. Ed.
That one-legged fadeaway was lethal, man. Really was. I enjoyed him. I admired him. He was a heck of a player. He really was. I'm glad they won one. Although that year, I remember I kept thinking, it's 2011. The Lakers had won in 10. I kept thinking, hey, the Lakers are going to turn it on here. They got swept. Man. they got swept and got their butts kicked. They got to give it to Dallas that year. And I was glad they beat Miami. And I think one point you're making, Ryan, about the Heat, they had, think about Ray Allen, Chris Bosh, Wade, LeBron, Udonis, a young Udonis Haslem. Back then he was very young. Mario Chalmers. If you remember, there was one series against San Antonio. They were done. And Ray Allen saved him with a corner three.
Yeah, 2013, yeah.
They were bringing the ropes out. And remember what Allen said, put those, well, I can't say what he said, but Ray Allen saved them. So, they give them credit. They won that. They won. They did win. But there's a couple of things that they really had to, for all the talent they had, they were talented. That's a talented team. And that's a prime LeBron soaring through the air and for some unbelievable dunks, So, I think you made a good point there about Miami and the expectations. They did win a few, but with the way LeBron was talking, it made it sound like they was going to win, 7 or 8.
Just Rick, before we get out of here. I forgot that year Memphis upset San Antonio in the first round. I think it was Zach Randolph and maybe Marcus Hall. I could be wrong, but so Dallas beat Portland with Rudy Gay, swept the Lakers, beat Oklahoma City, KD, Russell Westbrook, James Harden in 5. And then they beat Miami in 6. That's a pretty impressive playoff run. So I did not mean to go off on a tangent. Like I said, I love history of sports in this country. I don't know where we would be at, without that 2011 NBA Finals. I think that's up there. But anyway, hey, we appreciate everybody chiming in. There we go. Hey, everybody chiming in. My name is Ryan Tamori. On behalf of Richard Thompson, Ed Nunez, this is the Pit Press Live again every Tuesday at 8 o'clock live on YouTube and Twitter. We appreciate the comments. We need to start a mailbag. We predominantly focus on UNM, but we went off on a tangent with the NBA Finals, and Danny Hurley and the Lakers to that was kind of a big topic for the week. So again, we appreciate everybody watching. We will talk to you. Enjoy the game tomorrow night, game 3. We will talk to you on Thursday at 8 o'clock Mountain. Hopefully some Boise State football. We'll get a little, maybe more UNM football. The news gods with UNM basketball have been very, very good to us, even with the ticket prices uptick yesterday. So that helped out because we're getting into those dog days of summer, but we are steamrolling towards football, which is very cool. Again, appreciate everybody watching, and we will talk to you on Thursday.